Hello and welcome into another episode of the Calcio Connection podcast. We are connecting with you, Italian football fans from all over the world. Jerry and I are officially rivals, at least for the next few days. We are enemies temporarily because my Inter are going to travel to Rome to take on Jerry's Lazio at the Stadio Olimpico this Friday. So it's very early, I guess, what do you call that? A late week game, first game for the Serie A Matchday 3 weekend, 8:45 p.m. Italian time, 2:45 p.m. for our time zones on the East Coast of North America. So, Jerry, how you feeling? So, Inter coming off of a 6-point start, Lazio with a 4-point start. Most recently for Lazio, it was a 0-0 draw against Torino. How's your confidence level?
I don't know. It hasn't kicked in yet. How do I feel? I expect Inter to win this game. That's what I expect, especially with the momentum they're going in. Then again, they did beat Lecce, which they should have had
in Spezia.
Spezia, two teams that are expected to battle for against relegation. So, whereas Lazio have played Torino and Bologna, which are more mid-table teams and borderline top 10 on the corner of the 10, 11. So Lazio has started off well this season. So that's encouraging. I think the most important thing with the takeaway for me, I would say right now for Lazio is the defensive side of their game. And it looks way more structured, more composed with Romagnoli in the back end. Yeah. And this is not to throw a shot at Inter. This is just the Cherby was just not good in a back four. Maybe going to Inter and playing in a back three would help him his confidence and just playing in a system that's better suited for him. So that might help a Cherby. For Romagnoli, he's used to playing in a back four at Milan. Yeah. So that's an advantage for him over a Cherby. I think the biggest takeaway has been Patrick in the back end and how he has vastly improved under Sarri in the last year. This is a guy who has been played in every position under Simone Inzaghi, and Simone Inzaghi always trusted him regardless of how many mistakes he made because he doesn't fight back against the manager. He respects the manager, so he makes the job easier. I think Sarri has made the game easier for him, simplified it, and has really given him a position of how to play. He's not trying to do too much, and he's just keeping it simple. And I think that's what's making his game much better for him. Played really well against Torino, played very well against Bologna, so I think it's a big test to see where he's at against Inter. I think it will not be the same. It will be much harder. And having a guy like Romagnoli beside him will help him with his leadership and his ability to basically keep the back end very organized. Because, like I said in one of our earlier episodes, is that Romagnoli talks to the back end. He talks to the defense. So I think that's really important to try to keep things in line.
So, hold on, I wanted to pull up this message from Serie A podcast for the fans. I could totally see a draw. I'm going to disagree with 0-0, Jerry. Here's something that I found interesting in doing some reading on this game earlier today and kind of where both of these squads stand. Inter have scored at least one goal in every Serie A match they played going back to February of last season, where Lazio have scored at least one goal in every Serie A match they played going back to March of last season. So I think both teams to score is, for those who have, your sports books that you go to if you place some wagers, you guys know that I'm too superstitious to bet on Inter, like to win games, but sometimes I'll bet props that involve Inter matches. So I think, Jerry, something that I might look into is both teams to score, because I could totally see this game ending in a 1-1 or maybe a 2-1 for either side. I think it's going to be a close match, but I do think both teams will score because that's been the trend for Lazio and Inter, especially, on the Inter side of things. One very promising thing that came out of the Spezia match, and I know that people are right to say that Inter have not really played anyone, right? Because they had a scare match day one on the road against Lecce, much more comfortable against Spezia, didn't give up a shot on target, but these are not good teams that they've been facing so far. But I am starting to really see the chemistry between Lautaro and Lukaku reform. That's, I think, really been a positive sign coming out of the Spezia game, that whatever sort of timing that they may have lost after a year not having played together last season, they're starting to pick up where they left off from a year ago. Lukaku had a beautiful assist on Lautaro's goal, really knowing exactly where he's going to be when he headed it to him. And there were other scoring chances that they had in the match that they created for one another. So I think that's going to be, and it's going to be very interesting, Jerry, because you talk about Lazio's defense looking a lot more organized and a lot more sturdy. This is going to be a good test for both sides, right? Because Inter obviously have not faced a defense this good to this point, going up against the likes of Lecce and Spezia, nor have Lazio faced an attack with, a force like Lautaro and Lukaku playing together once again. So I think this is going to be a great opportunity for Lazio to try to flex their defensive muscle and for Inter to try and flex their attacking muscles. And the other big thing that we're going to look into before Friday's clash is I think Simone Inzaghi has a decision as to whether he's going to start Robin Gosens or Federico Di Marco at left wing back. Di Marco started the second match. I thought he looked quite good, so it kind of gives Simone a decision to make. And there's definitely, Jerry, I think there's a conversation to be had about Robin Gosens, who's just really, and I know that he's really over the last couple of years, he's struggled with nagging injuries. He was injured at the time last January when Inter bought him from Atalanta, but he's not hit his form yet at Inter. I think he's only started one match in an Inter shirt, which was the Lecce match. And he's not put together like a really strong, consistent performance. So I'm curious to see if at any point in the coming weeks, if we start to see the Robin Gosens of a couple of seasons ago when he looked like one of the best left wing backs in the entire world. He's not there yet. And Di Marco is a guy who seems to be ascending and getting a little bit better and getting a little bit more solid with time. So that's going to be something that I look forward to. So, how much, Jerry, Lazio did beat Inter in Rome last year, and that, crazy. I think it ended 3-2 or 3-1 Lazio. I think it was 3-1 Lazio.
Was it 3-1? Was it 3-1? Yeah,
I think it was 3-1 because I think Inter scored first, I think, with Perisic, and then I think Lazio scored the next three. So Lazio did get the win on their home grounds last season. How much of an advantage, if any, do you think playing at the Olimpico is going to have?
Oh, massive. Absolutely massive. Apparently, there's 10,000 tickets sold for Inter, and I think Lazio has almost 50,000. It's amazing the amount of fans that are going to games right now in the first 2-3 games for Lazio. I think 50,000 fans for Lazio is a great turnout, considering that we don't have, like, our fan base compared to the other clubs are not as big. So when we can get a draw, a turnout of 50,000 is huge. And it plays such a key role in how the team plays, because they a guy like Immobile derives off fans. He loves the momentum, the confidence, the people there, and they've been preaching about this during the preseason in their like little, how would you say it? They auctioned, they showed their jerseys, and they were in Rome and talking about how important it is to have the fans come out this year. And in the first game of the season, they were down 1-0. And another thing I saw about this team was that they showed some resilience. Oh, yeah. And I thought the fans played a big part in that 2-1 win over Bologna to open the season, and the fact that the fans kept on rallying them on and not turning on them and just showing the support. So I think the fans do play a big part in how teams play when they're at home. And it's always hard when you give up the first goal. Like Bologna scoring the first goal is always an advantage, right? Because you want to try to calm the crowd down, but at the same time, it's good to have it to kind of get you going. So I do believe that it's going to play a big a very big part on Friday in this game, and will help.
So, you got a question here on who? Because I did read something today about Pedro possibly starting. Do you have any expectation, Jerry, on starting 11 in some crucial positions?
You know what? If there was ever a week you had to put together a starting 11 for Lazio, this might be the hardest week that you'll put it together because Pedro just came back from an injury, played 20 minutes on Saturday versus Torino. He's been training. I could, sorry, if Pedro's 100% fit, Pedro always starts first. There's no doubt that Pedro will start first because that is a sorry type player and that's just one of his trusted players. Felipe Anderson is another one who would start because he's another sorry kind of player and he's just up there. I think
And
Zaccani.
by the way, we certainly didn't forget about this. We even though we didn't mention it by name, that's why I remembered 3-1 was because of that Felipe Anderson goal from last season that got me all angry. But yeah, I haven't forgotten.
Yeah, and you got Zaccani, I think, who will start off on the bench if anything. If Pedro's ready to go, he'll start with Felipe Anderson, and I think that the first player to be called off the bench will be Zaccani, and then will be Cancellieri. Those are the two that he'll depend on to play out wide. I don't see Immobile coming out of this game. Sergey is a lock in the midfield. Who Sergey Milinkovic-Savic now plays with is the bigger question. Vecino played on Saturday. I think a lot of Lazio fans were too quick to judge him. I don't think he was bad on Saturday. I don't think he was great, but again, the guy hasn't played for 2 years, so he's really hasn't played that much football. So he needs time to get back, at least to a level where it will help him. I prefer Vecino off the bench. I think he's better suited for that role. I for one would like to see Savage, Alberto, and then you got either Marcus Antonio or Basic, or maybe even Cataldi starts. I don't know, but it's a coin toss. I think that Basic looked good on Saturday off the bench against Torino. In the back end will be Patrick, Romagnoli in center back. You got Matisic out left, and you got Lazzari out wide on the right side. In goal, it's a coin toss. I thought Provedel looked good in the first game, looked a little shaky in the second game, but was okay. And then Maximiano is coming back from a suspension, so we don't know how Sarri will react or how he approaches that. Does he go back and give him a start again? Does he go to Provedel now because he's played 2 games in a row? So there's a lot of question marks in this lineup of how they approach it. Like, I think the biggest question marks is the midfield and in the back end. You have an idea of how he can go in the front. You know it's going to be between Zaccani, Pedro, or Felipe Anderson. That 2 of the 3 are going to start. That's no doubt. Now you look at the midfield, and now do you start Cataldi? I don't think Cataldi's been great in the first 2 games. I think he's been okay, but nothing special for me. Do you start Marcos Antonio? I think that's a big mistake because I think that this is not a game you want to just throw him in.
Yeah, too early.
I think it's too early for him. I think that off the bench on Saturday, he looked okay, but
although he's faced Inter before. What was he with Shakhtar previously?
Different system though, different style.
That's true, but he's faced Inter a handful of times over the years, so he knows Inter well because they've faced up so much in Champions League.
If I had to predict the starting lineup, I would say Cataldi, Savic, and Alberto in that midfield. That's what I would think he might go to. Basic looked okay on Saturday. Like, that's another guy you can put in there. It's tough, but that would be the 3 I would assume he might go with. Sorry, one thing I saw from him too on Saturday is that he diverted away from his game. He didn't stick to Sarri ball on Saturday against Torino, and I think that even in the first game, I didn't see all of what he normally is accustomed to. And I think that you might see a curveball from Sarri on Friday, and it may adapt to the game and kind of change it around. That's what I've kind of noticed. Like, he was really conservative against Torino, and people were saying that Torino outplayed Lazio. I didn't see it that way. I thought that we had 4 or 5 really good chances to score, and they should have won the game. Torino only had one shot the whole game on target, which was an innocent shot. Really didn't test it. I thought that Lazio showed a very good conservative approach, defending the box, staying a straight line, not kind of like looking disorganized. And I think that's where it has to begin with for Lazio. The goals will come. I think that once the defense gets an idea of how to play a straight line, where everyone knows where to be, like Lazio has looked really good the first 2 games, on both sides. Marusic had a really good battle on Saturday against, I believe his name, Vlasic. So if you can fix that part of the game, which was an area of concern last year, the rest comes with it. Again, defense wins championships. You can score 50 goals.
Absolutely.
You can score all the goals you want, but if
you notice that the team that wins the scudetto usually has the top or second best defense in the league, right? I mean, that's usually the way that it plays out. I like this question, by the way, from Stadio podcast for the fans, and it sneaks something in there for both of our teams, Jerry. The first part of it is for Inter. Do Inter strikers take goals from each other this season, and both end up under 20 goals, and Ciro around 25? Yeah, to answer his question, yes. I think just by nature of the partnership between Lukaku and Lautaro Lula, who are going to be the primary starters next to one another, but obviously Dzeko and Correa, if he stays healthy, are going to get plenty of burn this season as well. But yeah, I mean, as far as Lula, they're definitely going to take goals away from each other. I think they did so 2 seasons ago and 3 seasons ago when they played together. I think Lukaku will probably go over 20 goals because he's going to be the primary PK taker. So I think the penalty kicks will probably boost Lukaku over 20. I do think Lautaro will probably be somewhere in the teens, probably under 20 goals this year, at least in Serie A. In all competitions, I'm not sure. All bets are off. But at least in Serie A, I think Lautaro probably under 20, Lukaku maybe 21, 22 goals. But yeah, I mean, Jerry, I do think Ciro is going to, like, Inter may outscore Lazio as a team this year, but I do think Ciro Immobile will probably have more goals this season than any Inter attacker. Do you agree?
I don't know. I don't know. I have him as Capo Caraniere. I'm gonna stick by that. I'm not gonna change my mind based on how the season has started. I'll go with Immobile just because it's an attack minded team, and I think that it's such a Immobile dependent team that allows him to score that many goals. Inter is not a Lukaku dependent team. They're a Lukaku / Martinez dependent team. They need one for the other to work. And if Lukaku has a bad game on Saturday, I think that affects Martinez. If Martinez is off his game, I personally think that hurts Lukaku.
And then Correa comes in as a substitute in the 85th minute, and he scores against Lazio, and he's a big hero.
I'll never watch a game again. I swear to God. I swear to God.
Jerry, if that were to happen, what would your Twitter mentions be like? Because,
I don't check my mentions.
Oh, you don't check them anymore?
Oh, fuck that. Too many death threats. Are you kidding me? I get too many threats. I looked at it one day. I was like,
cool.
I had one Inter account actually rip me, but it was funny though. It was a joke. But he kind of said that Correa scored today, but what about Ciro? He's like, the barbecue specialist scored today. Did Ciro score? I started laughing. It was actually a good one, but I expect to get tormented that day. I don't care if I get tortured as long as it's not personal threats, man. I never sent a death threat to Joaquin Correa, so I hope I don't get the same. Like, I've never tortured the guy in a bad way that he should be going home sleeping, crying in bed.
Who do you think, like, Jerry? Who would Lazio fans like whistle harder? Like who do they have a bigger grudge against, Inzaghi or Correa?
I heard it last year that a few people booed Correa, but I don't know why.
Hmm.
Because there was no animosity. Like he respectfully just didn't want to stay, I'm okay with that. If a player wants to change of scenery, it's fine. Simone Inzaghi, the Ultras did a banner last year. They still have respect for him.
Okay.
There's a split divide between the fans of Simone Inzaghi. Some respect him for what he's achieved and what he's done for Lazio, and then you have another kind of fan base who says you screwed us over, you chose money, you're a snake. I can see how that can really upset fans because he had an agreement and the next day he just
Right.
decided to take off and they call him a merchant or whatever you want to call him. But I think the guy who's lucky tomorrow and didn't sign with Inter yet is a Cherby. Because
Yeah.
I tell you right now, if a Cherby was playing at any moment tomorrow for Inter, he would have got booed by
Oh yeah.
60,000 fans. I saw a tweet today about like a Lazio fan or Inter fan saying Gamaggio and like how the two intertwine, and there's a strong relationship between Inter and Lazio,
Yep.
and I know that some fans don't like it. They don't like the relationship and the goodiness about it, and that there should be a rivalry. I'm okay with it, but like when you see that and you see the fans and how Inter and Lazio kind of get along, okay, you can just imagine how much more Chirpy would get destroyed on the field. It would ruin him. I honestly think that the next time Inter and Lazio play and he plays any minute of that game, I would, if I'm Inzaghi, I would be reluctant to not put him on against Lazio
I you
at
know
all.
I think that will happen. I mean, it wasn't the same manager, but when like even when De Vrij first came over from Lazio to Inter, he like I don't know if it was the first two, but like the first I think it was the first couple of times like over more than one season when he would have played in Rome, he conveniently didn't play, right? I think for the same reason because his exit from Lazio was a little controversial because of the penalty kick that he conceded that helped Inter beat Lazio and knock them out of the Champions League right before he came over to Inter. So I could Simone was not the manager at Inter at that time, but I could definitely see just for like every just to save the drama that Acerbi wouldn't play in that game. But and let's talk a little bit about Acerbi, Jerry, because there's been like a social media campaign of a lot of Interisti who are just like they just don't want a Cherby. Like they do not want to bring him to Inter, and they're very vocal about it. I'm pretty apathetic about it, Jerry. Like because here's where I look at it. I would be livid if they were selling Skriniar and bringing in a Cherby to replace one of their starters. But like to me, bringing in and I know he's not what he used to be. This is not a first choice center back, but to bring in somebody who does have a lot of experience, including experience under Inzaghi at what seems like a low cost loan, and he'd even be giving up, I think, 400,000 euros of his wages to come to Inter, like as a fourth or a fifth choice center back. I don't have a strong feeling about it. Like I'm not telling you that this is still a dominant center back and this is a great player. But I think for some of these backup spots, they really value experience. And I also I compare if it's not a Cherby, Inter are, negotiating a potential loan. It'd be one or the other. So, right. So they're basically negotiating two deals, and whichever one they get done first or more easily, they're bringing him to the club. So if it's not a Cherby, they're working out a loan with, I forgive me if I'm mispronouncing this man's name, but Chelsea's Trevo Chalobah, to bring him over on loan if it's not a Cherby. This is, a younger, less experienced defender, but doesn't know the league, hasn't played in Serie A before, doesn't have a past relationship with Inzaghi. Like if you feel that this is a great up and coming player and there's like an obligation or an option to buy and maybe you keep him long term, okay, maybe. But if you're talking about potentially bringing this guy in from Chelsea for a 1-year rental, I'm not convinced he would be better in one season than a Cherby. So I don't have a strong feeling about a Cherby. I don't love it. Like I don't think this is some great player, but if Inter end up bringing him in to be the fourth or fifth choice center back, I can live with it.
Trevor Chalobah is a really good defender. I follow
Yeah.
Chelsea being my other favorite team, and he's a young defender who has a lot of upside, good pace. I think that he would strive well as a fourth, fifth defender.
Okay.
Can
So
defend
you
well.
think like he comes over first season in Serie A, and I'm not like interrogating you. I'm asking you because I want to know. You think he could do good work in one season? Because the only reason why I say this about Acerbi is he already knows the league, he knows the system, he knows the coach.
Yeah, but he's also slow.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
Chalobah's quick, man. He can.
Okay.
Here's the thing: a Cherby out of position, you're done. Can't he overcommits to no. Cherby overcommits too much. I have I had a tweet that I wasn't gonna tweet out, but I chose not to. But it was a Cherby in the back end trying just making a pass, and it goes in the air, and it goes to nothing. And it's just like his read for the game, his mind is just like not there. Like it's I don't know. He's a fragile player. You're taking on a guy who's very fragile, and the minute Inter turns on him, it's over.
Hmm.
I'm telling you right now, the minute he gets booed at, it's over. This guy, all he had to do was apologize to the Curva. He mocked the fans after he scored against when he scored against Genoa last year. You chooch. All
Yeah.
you had to do was not even do that. Like
Yeah.
he's and then he cries wolf and like he's just crying and I have a tweet that he has more apologies than good games last year. Okay,
That's a good tweet.
that sums up his season. He's got more apologies than goals. He's got more apologies than anything. Okay, I'm sorry because my smirk on my face after I scored. Did you see what Maricic did to him when he blew a casket on him and he freaking lost it? Like people didn't like that. I'm okay with it. Why are you smirking after you give up a goal? I don't care how you feel after the game. Like you should show some anger that you conceded in the 90th minute. Like it's just it's not healthy, man. Like where's the fight? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
Trevor Chalobah is I don't know. He had a very good start to last year, okay? And then as the season progressed, Tuchel kind of casted him out. And I was listening to this on a Chelsea pod today by The Athletic, and they were talking about they don't recommend Chalobah going out, and he should be starting more for Chelsea because he showed a lot of good promise in the EPL last year, and he was a very strong center back in the back there. So I like him. I think that if he can succeed and show signs of growth and strength in the EPL, which is a much faster league.
Yeah.
Which is a much faster league. I think that benefits him in Serie A. It's kind of like Tomori, I would say, is maybe what you should look at this deal. And he comes on,
Okay.
and he comes in. You hope that it works. I just think you go with a younger defender, man. Like, why do you need a Cherby? You got the Cherbys already in your team. You got Stefan de Vrij. Isn't
Right.
that your Cherby already? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, isn't he the guy who has the experience, who can come in and out? And if you think that he's lost a step, can go on the bench and you can put somebody else in. Like, I think that you need some youth in that back end. You need young legs. You got Skriniar, who's 29, I think, if that's his age. Like you got some,
that is
you got D'Ambrosio.
Yeah, and listen, in Inter and Chelsea have been doing a ton of business with one another, so they've developed a good relationship. So if it does, and you're turning me around, Jerry, on Chalobah, like you're getting me more excited about
I
this
like him.
possibility.
He's
So
a good player.
I hope that if you're able to get a deal done for Chalobah and get him over at Cherby, because again, I don't think they're bringing both. It's going to be one or the other. I hope you have like kind of a nice handshake agreement on potentially being able to purchase him at the end of the loan. Because like if it's just a 1-year rental, I don't know how much good it really does. But if you can actually be in a good position to buy him, and I know Inter are back apparently in another FFP agreement, as are Roma and to a lesser degree Milan and Juventus. And I don't want to spend a whole lot of time talking about that. From what I've been told, it's not like a big concern. I think Inter and Roma have known about this for a long time, and I'm more worried about Steven Zhang than I am about any agreement with FFP, because Steven is really the one that's keeping Inter from spending, not FFP. So that's, it's neither here nor there. But before we wrap it up, Jerry, do we have the stones to give? Because obviously you're a big Lazio fan, I'm a big Inter fan. Do we want to give a prediction for the match?
No, I'm not doing this shit, man.
I'm gonna go 1-1. I'm gonna go with a draw, 1-1 draw. I'm gonna go with Chiro and Correa as the goal scorers.
You can go all the way you want, man. I'm not touching this game, man. No way. Not when it's Correa in this game. If I jinx myself and I got Correa freaking sausage freaking memes at me all day.
Oh, that's gonna be great.
There's gonna be memes about me all day. Oh God.
Listen, you honestly, I write some stupid tweets every now and then that people throw back at me. I enjoy it, so prepare to be entertained if he does score.
And Lazio might have one more player coming to Rome in Sergio Reguilon from Tottenham, and I just hope this deal happens. We need a left back, so if he arrives, I think that, and I also like Valeri from Cremonese. I thought that he had a really good game against Roma on Monday, and I watched that game actually, and I thought that was a very entertaining game between Roma and Cremonese. Thought that Cremonese really held their own ground and showed that they are not going to be an easy team to play against every week.
Yeah,
I think
for sure.
I don't know too much about their manager, but based on the way I saw them play, they look like a very disciplined team, which is good to have. Saw the Napoli game. I think that this is where I'm. That's right. I laugh. I laugh because I saw Bonetti wants to change his picks, and this is not a shot to him. I don't want to. But
what did he say?
So now, before he never had Napoli in the top 4.
Right.
After this weekend, he's like, I need to reconsider. I think I have to put Napoli in the top 4.
Okay.
And he's the perfect example of what I was trying to say. How the fuck can you make how can you make a table of top 20 of where they're going to finish if you don't know what teams are going to do in the transfer market until next Thursday?
Yeah. Look, well, and then also to want to change that 2 games into the season is also stupid. Like, you're right. It's dumb to make the prediction that early, and then it's also dumb to change it that quickly. But yeah,
I know. I'm a firm believer that if you're gonna make a table, if you're gonna do it at the beginning, stick to it. But I suggest you just wait till the transfer market closes. Yeah. And then you can understand. But look, Juventus is going to get Malik now. No one saw this coming. Everyone thought Memphis Depay was going to.
Yeah, we thought. What was it? 2 years ago, he was supposed to go to Juve, and then it fell through. So we didn't see it coming. Now we saw it coming 2-3 summers ago.
Napoli wins again because they get 15-20% of the sale if he goes there. Which again, great business by ADL. 2 years later, think about Malik deal. All of a sudden, coming back, and it's all that time he spent, he tried getting $50 million for him, but never got it. But now he's getting a percentage of the sale. I didn't know that his stats were so good that he had 50 goals in 33 appearances.
Yeah, I didn't know either. 33
goals in 50 appearances. I watch a lot of Marseille. He's a very good scorer. I'll give him that. But his overall game, I'm not impressed with. I saw the first 2 games. I watched the first 2 games against Marseille this season. Should have got a red card against Brest. I don't know how you didn't get a red card. His athleticism is garbage. He doesn't run. He doesn't move. He's just so stagnated. He just doesn't show anything. He's in it. He's like an Icardi kind of.
That's what I was going to say. He reminds me a lot of Icardi. Yeah.
He's just a poacher, man. He's not a good player. I'm sorry. I don't think Malik's that great of a player. I think that Juve could do better, but I guess what is better sometimes when you can't find it, it's going to cost you $50 million, right? I guess, Depay is a good player. You want to sign him. What's the cost? If the cost of signing Depay is 50 million. Is it worth it? Like,
No, I don't think so.
is it worth it? Like I don't think Juventus wants to help Barcelona either in their freaking financial crisis. So
That's another team in a terrible spot. Yeah.
So, any other? Just checking to see if there's any. And
I still got to eat my dinner. So give me one.
Yeah,
give me one more. Give me one more for the road.
So I was watching Lyon before we came on,
Mm-hmm.
and it was the first French game I watched this week finally, and Paqueta, wow.
Ooh, yeah. How's he looking?
He has looked amazing. Okay, to start the year, he was voted top 5. Okay, he was one of the 5 finalists last year for Player of the Season for Lyon. Jeez. I just gotta say that I don't blame Milan for ruining him. I don't think that's. I think that Paqueta was at Milan in a era where they were just really bad and they didn't have an identity and they were just on the crust of trying to get out of that banter era. And Gattuso did a good job to try to keep him as high as he could. There just was too much going on there, and there was a lot of struggle in the financial situation of forgot his name there. The owner they had that.
Oh, Young Ho Lee.
That's it. The previous owner who screwed everything up. And
my Twitter friend.
Yeah, and I thought that Paqueta, like, I think a lot of it has to do with the pressure. I don't think he was able, especially that he was very young, in his early 20s. He was there, and I thought that the pressure really mounted on him, and just couldn't live to the Milan expectations, and wasn't really fully developed in his game yet. And he goes to Lyon where there's no pressure, fresh start, just playing football, and he excelled his game. And what I've been watching so far this year, like against Troyes, he was amazing. The way he's moving, the way he's passing the ball, the way he's reading the game, the way he's getting into areas, setting up goals. He set up a beautiful goal for Lyon last weekend.
Nice.
Like, the dribbling from him is just exquisite. Like,
that was always his strength for sure.
Yeah, like change was needed for him, and I think Milan showed a lot of patience too. They didn't give up on him right away. I think he had a few seasons before they had to.
Yeah, it was at least 2 years, if not 3.
2 or 3, and you have to respect Milan for not giving up on him. But there's a time and place where you just say, like, it's not working right now. Like
that was like a pretty disastrous, because I can't remember exactly which year, but he came over in a January transfer window. And it was the same window when Milan bought Piontek. So they brought in Piontek and Paqueta, I think, in the same window. And neither of those worked out. Obviously, Milan had the last laugh. A couple of years later, they won a scudetto, but that particular January window was not so good. And they spent a lot of money on that. I think it was like 35 million for Piontek and like 30 million for Paqueta. So that was an expensive couple of failures. It reminds me of when Inter had the Joao Mario Gabigol summer, where they spent a ton of money on those flops.
I thought with Milan, though, I would reconsider bringing him back. I think he can do well this time around if he were to come back to Milan. Like, I think that his overall game, his maturity level, his confidence is higher. His overall game has grown so much that I think if he were to have a second stint under Pioli, he would really fit in well in that midfield.
Yeah, the whole club is more stable. So we're going to want to thank everyone for stopping in. Please, if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel, and tell your friends. Calcio Connection. Every week we bring you content. Jerry, thank you so much as always. You see where to follow him on Twitter at jmancini8. You see where to follow me on Twitter at AlexDonno, Donno. And we will talk to you guys again next time. Forza Inter. And Jerry, I guess good luck to Lazio. I hope, I'll say this, I hope neither side suffers any injuries on Friday. Okay, so good luck to Lazio.
Oh, the pitch is terrible. The pitch is terrible.
I've seen it. The pitch there is awful at the Olimpico.
Someone's getting hurt on Friday. I'll tell you that much.
Field. Well, we will talk to you again next week on another episode of the Calcio Connection. Ciao.